back to Bit by Bit for another of our bi-weekly podcasts. I'm Jess, I'm here with Janet.
Hey.
And today we are doing something sort of spookier because it's October and 'tis the season, so we're going to be discussing today what we think are the scariest video game characters. Just characters in video games throughout our lives that have kind of freaked us out. Not necessarily from horror games, we have a few of those, so... I guess I can go ahead and start us out. I've got an oldie but a goodie. I think most of mine are actually oldies. The Clock Tower series is sort of a longer running series now, but I think I only played like the really early one, and it came out on the PlayStation, and I was like 5 or something when it came out. And the whole premise of the game, for those of you who haven't played it, and the extent of which I've played it is, I think, like, just to get killed by this guy, and that's it. I never beat it or anything. You're, like, running around trying to, like, hide from this guy who has these huge scissors. I'm talking, like, the length of a human body scissors. And he just, like, lopes around after you and is just, you know, the whole game. And maybe you were supposed to, like, kill him or something. I don't know, because I was a child playing this game that was not age appropriate whatsoever. And I remember, like, there was this creepy statue of, like, a mother... like holding her baby or something, and I think the baby was supposed to be this scissor guy, and like trying to solve this mystery, and the statue started crying. I remember that from when I was a kid. I also remember trying to hide behind a rack of clothes, and it didn't work, and he like pulls you out of wherever you're hiding and cuts you literally in half. And I know that shouldn't be frightening given the level of graphics at that time period. It's like, whatever, it doesn't even look like anything, you know, but it was horrifying when I was a kid. And I remember we used to as all things that horrify children, you know, we try to emulate it in our real lives because children are messed up in all sorts of weird ways. And so me and all my siblings, we were all really freaked out by this game with the scissor guy, Clock Tower games. And so we would like play it outside. And so someone was the scissor guy, you know, and I think we like just used our arms, you know, as the scissors. And if they got you, you were dead. And we used to like hide in the bushes and stuff like that, like out in the front yard. And I don't, you know,
that's horrifying.
I know, isn't it? But we were outside all the time. Don't let anyone ever tell you that playing video games stops you from playing outside. You can do both. There was, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even sure if this was like because of the game we were playing, but we did hide in the bushes all the time. And once, me and a whole bunch of other kids from the neighborhood were all hiding for whatever game it was. It was probably the scissor guy game, but we played a lot of freaky games, so who knows. And we were not even hiding in a bush in front of one of our houses. We were hiding in some random person's giant bush. We were all hiding in there, and this old guy comes out to get like his newspaper or something, and we think it's like, you know, the enemy has found us, and we all shrieked and burst out of this bush and sprinted down the street, and then probably give this poor old guy a heart attack. Can you imagine? You're just walking outside to get your paper, and you pass this bush, and 7 children yell and run out of it and sprint down the street. So yeah, that's the long story of the scissor guy from Clock Tower games.
Yeah, I think it's like what's really freaky about like scary characters in games. Like, it's not so much that it's like they're super scary and like, you know, it's a game, so it's like on your TV, it's like fine.
Right.
But like since you're interacting with it, you get like invested in it, and you like really don't want to be caught because it's also like your objective and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, I have a similar character. The janitor from Little Nightmares. I still haven't actually finished Little Nightmares because like I just haven't finished it. Like, I'm really close to the end and I just stopped playing and I haven't picked it up.
What is Little Nightmares? I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's a pretty good game. It's like, is it an indie game? I think it's an indie game.
Sounds like it at
least has like the aesthetics, you know. It has like an Unravel vibe to it in terms of the character moves, and it has like a small like little character called I forgot what their name is. It's not 9. It's like something else. It's like something kind of obscure and weird. It's like this little child, and you're stuck in like this, like the premise. I haven't finished it all the way, so I don't really know where the story's going, but you're kind of like trapped in this like kind of like a freaky orphanage. Like, not really, but kind of. It's like this weird place. Like, you wake up, like you start the game, and you're like in this place, and either you're really tiny or everything's giant. Maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
So everything's like horrifying because like the bed is like giant. And then everything's creaky and weird because it's like a weird asylum type vibe to it.
Orphan asylums.
Yeah, like a weird like orphan asylum type, you know, rainy, like leaky stuff, and everything's really creepy. And you don't really have any like powers or anything. You can kind of run and pull things, and you're, you know, very small. You're the size of Yarny compared to like the ratio
the environment.
of Yarny to the environment is the same in Little Nightmares.
Cool.
So there's like all these different like boss characters, and a lot of the bosses, it's like you kind of fight them, but like mainly you just like evade them, and then at the end there's like some like way to like win or kind of get past them. So, like, the janitor was this character that, like, he has really, 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 really long arms. And, like, everyone's really just kind of, like, disfigured or, like, weirdly... They have, like, some physical abnormality besides being giant. Or unless they're really tiny and then they're not giant. But they're, like, everyone's really, like, gruesome looking and gory and, like, messed up. So the janitor has, like, these crazy long arms. And when you first, like, encounter enemies in this game, it's, like, set up really, really eerily because, like, the janitor's a lot less scary once you, like, see all of him. But, like, when he's just, like, arms at first, it's, like, really freaky.
Like, freaky.
And they're, like, really, really long arms. Like, it's, like, basically his arms are, like double the length of his torso, and I think his legs are really small, so he kind of, like, walks a little bit with his arms, and he's, like, this creep, and you're, like, really tiny, and, like, if he catches you, he'll just, like, grab you, and then you're, like, dead, and, like, snap you in half or something crazy. So, yeah, I'd say that was, like, probably the creepy, like, all the bosses had some element of, like, creepiness to them, but that one was really creepy because, like, the arms were, like, kind of always there, and you were, like, trying to get, like, just far enough, and then you had to, like, do all this extra, and you're, like, climbing up, like, bookshelves, and you're hoping, like, the arms can't reach you, but the arms are really long, and it's, like, really stressful. But, yeah, so that would probably be, like, the creepiest game character that kind of comes to mind from recent memory.
Yeah, that's fair. More along the lines of, like, creeped out than scared, my next character is Seymour from Final Fantasy X. And once again, I played this when I was a kid. I've talked about Final Fantasy X a little bit on the channel. I've never beat it. Got so close. But Seymour is, like, one of the main villains in the game, and he's, like, also constantly creeping on your girl, in the game. If you're Titus, then Yuna, is kind of your love interest in the game. Although I kind of, like, identified with Yuna more when I was playing as a kid because I'm like, it's the girl, I want to be the girl. And so even though you don't really, like, you kind of control Yuna during battle, but you don't really play as Yuna, you play as Titus. I identify with Yuna. And this guy was so skeevy. He's, like, way older than you and, like, creepy and, like, really into himself. But, like, also there's, like, the, the classic, forced marriage plot and stuff in the game. Kind of like in Mario Odyssey. Yeah. So he's, like, the Bowser of the Final Fantasy world.
But he's, like, human, though, right?
Yeah.
That makes it worse.
Yeah, no, it's way worse, because you're like, oh, you're, like, actually a human being, and you're so creepy, and you're skeeving me out, and I'm, like, 10, like, this guy is so gross and creepy, and whatever. And I was right to be creeped out by men like that when I was 10, I was like, good instincts, man. But he just always, like, was, like, the epitome of, like, skeevy guys to me when I was a kid. And that has carried really strongly into my adulthood. I'm, like, still when I think of skeevy guys, I'm like, Seymour, which is ridiculous. But creepy guys are scary. They're scary people.
Creepy guys are the scariest of people,
yeah,
I think.
So,
so it makes sense.
Yeah, we should have high for me.
We should have made a list of, like, horrifying men. That should have been listed.
Too long of a podcast.
Next
man.
year.
Next year.
Video game men, not just regular. So that list is longer. Cool. For my next one, it's still along those lines of, like, not wanting to get, like, caught in a game and, like, have the game end. So even though, like, the arc of this narrative, like, kind of ends lighter, Koro from Ori and the Blind Forest, like, the big owl.
Oh, yeah, no, so freaky.
That thing was, like, so scary. So obviously it wasn't, like scream scary or anything, but, like, there were a lot of sequences where, like, Koro would be, how do you say, it's a her too, right?
Her,
so, like,
yeah,
her name?
Kuro?
Has,
yeah.
Kuro? Yeah, it doesn't sound right,
I think
but...
Kuro. Maybe it's... Now I'm thinking of Kuvo and the
yeah.
or something. Yeah,
that movie was super solid.
It was really good. Yeah, that was creepy too. Just while we're on
it was really dark. Yeah,
it was so dark. Watch it.
The kids were. I watched it with, like, with little kids, and they were, like, really freaked out by it. Yeah, it's too scary. I'm like, yes, it's great. It's great content. Yeah, but that owl was horrifying because you would have sequences where, like, the owl would be around, you had to, like, hide, but, like, it would just get just close enough to, like, almost get you, and, like, it was always really stressful. So,
and if it did get you, you pop. That's it's horrifying.
Yeah, you just, like, kind of poof into thin air, and, like, that whole game is, like, the way the colors are, like, it's like, it's kind of just, like, generally dark, because it's, like, has a lot of, like, deep blues and, like, dark, like, harsh pinks and purples, and it's kind of, like, cave-like, because a lot of the setting is, like, beautiful. In caverns. So, yeah, it does look really nice, but it does have, like, an element of, like a eerie glow to it, that kind of added to the scariness of that owl, but...
Yeah. No, I totally agree on that note.
It was always, like, raining and stuff, too. Like, it was freaky.
So for me, I think My third and scariest character is Rossetti from Animal Crossing, who, for those of you who don't know, is a mole that shows up when you reset your GameCube without saving. He shows up outside your house, like in Animal Crossing, when you turn your game back on, you log back in, and it just shows your character walking outside their house, and like, oh, brand new day, you know? And it's really cute, and then this little mole shows up, and it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, what? What's going on? And he's like, you know, you can't just turn your game off without saving, and he gets like really belligerent and angry, and he has a different interaction with you every time you reset it. So on one save file, if you reset once, he's like, that was lame, don't do it again, and you're like, okay, and you go about your life. If you keep resetting it, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and then he makes you like solve puzzles and stuff. And there was this,
really?
Yeah, like you have to like type an apology
why'd you keep not saving your game?
I just had a complex life, you know. I was always going here and there. Also, I had some like jerk siblings. No offense to any of my jerk siblings who are watching this, but you know who you are. Who would, like, if they were mad at you, they'd reset the GameCube.
Oh, that's messed up.
Or if it was their turn, or if, you know, like, or if you were kind of being a jerk, let's be honest, and they were like, I'm not taking that treatment from you, they turn your game off, you know? Mm-hmm. Still a jerk move, no matter how much of a jerk I was being, and I really could be a jerk. Yeah, so the game would get reset all the time. Or, you know, even stuff like, it's time for dinner, or have you ever had that, like, situation even on, like, your Game Boy where you're, like, on your way in the car somewhere and you're like, I can beat this next level. No, you can't. Save and turn off the game. But then, like, a lot of games, especially from back then, they don't, like, have autosave, or they don't, like, allow you. You have to go all the way to some place that has, like, a save point, and, like, your parents do not understand that. They don't. They're like, we have to go, and I'm like, you don't understand, I needed 15 minutes minimum to get to the save point, or like, I'm losing my progress. They don't care. They don't care at all. And so the game would get reset a lot, and so sometimes I would actually have to start over my Animal Crossing profile, because I would get to the part where he like wants you to type an apology, you know, like you use your analog stick and you have to like punch in all the letters and stuff, but it had to be like an exact replica of what he asked you to say, and no matter how I did it, he would say, no, that's not good enough. And he would never, you can't play the game until you finish this dialogue with Rossetti. And so to me, it was always horrifying, like when he would show up, because sometimes I would forget that I turned it off or something like that, you know? And I'd be about to start I haven't played in a week, but I'm excited to play Animal Crossing, and he shows up, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? And then it was always like a countdown to my demise, you know? It's like, oh, one strike. I hope I don't mess up again. You know, I love this character. So I found him really horrifying. Also, he was kind of mean for like, I know Animal Crossing is not exactly a children's game, but it's like really...
It's pretty child friendly.
Yeah,
it's like, friendly. It's cute, you know?
I started playing it when I was really a lot younger, and so, like, he's kind of rude and, like, mean, and you just feel, like, personally targeted as a child. You're sitting there like, I don't need to take this. But you do.
It's also, like, this weird, there's always something unsettling when games get meta.
Yeah.
When they're like, you think this is a game? You know, looks to camera. It's like, this is weird. I don't like this.
Don't do that. Yeah.
That's a really good one. I love that as a horrifying character. My last horrifying character is slightly different than Rossetti from Animal Crossing. See, am I going to say the name right? Marguerite Baker from Resident Evil 7.
So creepy.
Yeah, so she's pretty horrifying, just inherently. She's like probably I would say of the cast, the creepiest one. Debatably the scariest one, but also definitely the creepiest one. Like in terms of, she's just like
something about her mannerisms and like, the way she does stuff.
Yeah, and then especially like as like, you know, like light spoilers, like as you progress in the game, like she gets way less human like, so she gets like giant and gross, and there's like some weird like spidery things going on, and I always thought like the spider stuff was always like kind of the creepiest in Resident Evil. I didn't really play any Resident Evil games before 7, but I did. Like my brother had the one for the GameCube, like one of the ones for the GameCube, and they're like you know, remakes and all that stuff. But one of them had like a giant spider, and I always thought that was really scary. So it's kind of like a throwback to that. And I think I might be wrong about this, but she was like one of the first, like, there weren't that many jump scares in Resident Evil 7, but she was like at least like 2 or 3 of them. So
yeah, she was quite a bit.
Yeah, so that was pretty horrifying.
Yeah, I hated that part where you had to be Mia, and it was like a flashback, and you had to like go through this like warehousey place, and she was like looking for you, and if she found you, her face would like zoom in on the screen. You're like, don't do that. You know.
Yeah.
Also,
basically, how to avoid people is always scary.
Yeah.
It's always scary.
It stresses me out. I get really like tense.
Yeah. So and that's what gets me most like skeeved out when I'm like trying to, I guess, avoid people. In games. Yeah. Maybe in real life, I don't know.
So definitely let us know who in video games freaks you out the most, whether it's like some like rando creepy dude in a game or, you know, like a bona fide horror character. Please tell me that you have also been frightened by Rossetti so I feel more normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I am always taken aback when he does appear. I've only had it happen like once. I haven't played that much Animal Crossing.
Oh, I think I'm traumatized. I think that's what happened. It happened a lot. Yeah.
All right, and thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys here next week for another video and in 2 weeks for another podcast.
Bye. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit thumbs up and subscribe. That's youtube.com/bitbybit. If you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Podomatic, be sure to leave us a rating.
And of course, you can always talk to us on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at BitByBit Gaming, and we are on Facebook at BitByBit Gamers.
And you can check us out on our official website, bitbybitgamers.com, for the occasional blog post and exclusive content.
Thanks for tuning in.